Hello and welcome to Goddess Resurrection. My name is Britta and I am your host. And today's episode is episode number 9. And we are talking about surrender is power. Hello, my beautiful sisters. How are you? I am so sorry. I apologize for not coming out with an episode last Friday. Sometimes, life does get into the way. Sometimes life gets a bit busy. And I was having a lot of fun, which is also, of course, a very important part of life. My life, for sure. So, yes, but here we are. And I'm very committed to, being my word and being present for you once a week. And so for now, go ahead and focus onto your breath. And remember, you integrate the breath. We integrate the breath into the doing so we can be present. So we are open and present and grounded to all of us, all of ourselves. And so when we say surrender is power, I do need to just mention quickly and start with this, that goddess, when we look at goddess, when we look at the goddess, Mother Goddess, Isis, Kuan Yin, Shakti, when we look at the Parvatis of the cosmos, we have to understand that goddess, a true goddess, doesn't need to surrender much anymore, right? Because a true goddess really truly is in her divinity. A true goddess knows she's just taken on a human form for just a little bit of time, right? She's not of this earth. A goddess knows 100% that this earth realm is just energy and it's just another dimension, and she just incarnated and she just gets to play here or complete her mission. But she is not of this earth. She knows this is not her true self. She knows this is just an illusion. She knows this is not the reality. Yes, she knows who she is. She knows she's divine. She knows she's infinite light power. And so for her, there's not much to surrender. She's been in this understanding of Earth is just a blink of an eye experience, and she's just coming here to do what she's came here to do. So she's not caught up in her ego. She's not caught up in old fears or reactions or old lack of worth or, right? All of these old patterns that we have to still clear through, right? We're all still goddesses in training. We are all still here to clear the imbalance of the suppression of the feminine by the masculine. And so this is the masculine energy within ourselves that is suppressing our own feminine energy every day. All the time. The overthinking, the overscheduling, the overdoing, the overgiving, the tantrums, the emotional outbursts, the over-sexualization, the lack of self-worth, lack of self-respect, lack of value, right? Not speaking up, feeling intimidated, feeling in a lack of confidence. All of it is masculine imbalance within. And of course, ego, because remember, the ego ties into and hooks into the masculine energy. The feminine energy is pure. The feminine energy is light. The feminine energy is never lacking or imbalanced. The feminine energy simply is there to surrender into. And the more that we surrender to our feminine energy, to our light, to our soul, the more powerful we become. And of course, on the other side of the coin, we want to surrender our ego. We want to surrender our reaction patterns, our old ways, the voices, the thoughts, the defenses, yes, that keep us in the imbalance, that keep us in the old energy of the old ways, which do not serve anymore. So yes, we're all goddesses in training. We're all here to heal more deeply. And as we do, we align. We align more and more and more with our true selves. And so this way, we still are aware of these bodies and these experiences and this earth realm that we have come here to play within and become again the goddess, the divine feminine that we have come here to reclaim and recover within ourselves while in a human form, right? And that is exactly the key. The ego tells us that we are of this earth. Once we have healed deeply enough and we have surrendered into ourselves as light, as divine, we are not of this earth any longer. We are here, yes, the body is part of earth, yes. We are present, yes, we enjoy it, yes, we play here, we work here, we have our intentions for this lifetime. But we are infinite divine light being, playing human, incarnating into these human forms to heal, to learn, to grow, to ascend. And ascension is goddess embodiment. Nobody that is unhealed and still stuck in the old ego ways can actually embody their goddess. It's not possible. This is why the surrender of the old ways and the surrender of the masculine imbalance within is so important. And I want to give you a quick example of myself, because I have come a long way. Even though I was born a clear cognizant, and even though I was born with all the gifts, and I was very much in alignment with them when I was little, I did suffer abandonment, right? I was very unhappy with my father, who was completely unavailable, not present. And once my parents divorced, he was literally gone from my life, right? Like physically, emotionally, mentally, completely checked out and unavailable. And that within me, especially as I was turning into teenager, created a strong ego defense mechanism, right? I was super masculine, especially, of course, growing up in Germany. This is where I grew up. I was raised and born there. Very masculine, right? A very masculine country in and of itself. So, and then on top of it, with, you know, the abandonment of my father, and I felt unloved and unworthy and not good enough and not lovable enough deep down inside. And of course I masked that, and of course I built protection around myself to be strong, to be tough, to protect myself. And for me, vulnerability was an unknown. As I was in my younger years, I was tough. I was the man that I've wanted to marry. You know, I really was. And it wasn't really possible for me to surrender at that time because I didn't know better. My defense mechanisms, my protection, my masculine energy was my conditioning. And it showed itself in all areas of my life. I was successful, I was busy, I was working. I, of course, fell in love and had relationships, but I never, ever felt safe, ever. Because I wasn't safe within myself, because I hadn't healed my wounding, I hadn't healed my abandonment, I hadn't healed my disappointments, my sadness, right? My lack belief of not good enough, not lovable enough. And so therefore, my ego and my defense mechanisms were always of fuck him, fuck this, fuck that. I would just walk away. Fuck that, fuck this, don't need him, don't need that, fuck this, fuck you. Completely numb and aloof to any kind of disconnect, which of course never allowed for any relationship to move into a deeper union, to move into a safe and belonging and loving and trusting and supportive space. I wanted that. Of course I wanted that. But I didn't know how to create that. And I didn't necessarily know that I had anything to do with it, because I would just look externally, right? I would just look externally at my relationship and I would just think, oh, it's just this guy. It's his fault, right? Everything was always external. And so it really required me, myself, to dive through my conditioning, through my wounding, through my trauma, through my healing process, to reclaim all that I am, to embody my goddess, to really allow myself to surrender these old ways. And so to surrender these old ways of the protection, of the, well, fuck this, fuck that, I don't need that, fuck him, right? This old attitude. It took time, and it took real conscious effort and attention to myself, paying attention to myself, to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and really realizing when and where and how I was believing the old stories, the old voices, when and where and how I was, operating from reaction. And the more that I paid attention to it, the clearer it became. The more I would notice when I would be in ego reaction, when I would be in the fuck him reaction. Because there is a sense to it that feels like power, right? It feels like, fuck him, I don't need anybody, I got it, I got myself, I don't need a man, right? And of course, for some others, for some other sisters, it may be the same patterning, just play out in more of a victim mentality, more of a, oh, poor me, nobody wants me, nobody loves me, right? So it could be either way. So for me, the ego developed in a better than way, right? Where I was always so independent and so strong that I told myself, fuck him, I don't need him. And I believed that. And it felt empowering, right? It felt strong, because to be in the ego, there is a certain sense of strength to it. There's a certain sense of safety and protection, of course, that I felt, because it made me feel protected by myself. It made me feel safe within myself, in my independence, and not needing anybody. And so it's very important to let go of this false sense of safety, of this false sense of empowerment, because it is not, because it really keeps the old walls in place. It keeps the old wounding in place. It keeps the old stuff that's underneath it all in place. And this old stuff that's still in place keeps everything that I really want, that I've really wanted, away from me. Yes, and so this is why when we look at surrender, it's very important to see the two sides of the coin. On the one hand, we have to learn to surrender the old ways in order to surrender more fully and deeply into our light, into our divinity, into our wisdom. And so a wonderful way to be in this self-observation, a very practical way, this is what I did for myself, was to ask myself, is this my light or is this my ego? Is this my light or is this my ego? And so I would check myself and I would recognize that, oh, okay, so me being in this reaction, okay, I would know, I would feel that it was my ego, right? Because my light wouldn't say, fuck him, fuck that. I don't fucking need him, right? My light wouldn't say that. I knew that. And I was like, okay, so then this must be my ego. Okay. And I would, of course, check in with my intuition when I was calm again, because when we're emotionally flushed, we cannot hear our intuition, right? So very important to always stay in front of the emotional processing. But back to, is this my light or is this my ego? It goes deeper and deeper and deeper, because the ego, of course, has conditioned through all of us into the very masculine ways. And even when a sister is very emotional, even when a sister is very deep feeling, but in a dramatic way, in an explosive way, right? We know that some of us have the tendency to throw big temper tantrums, right? That's not the feminine energy. That is also the masculine energy, just using the emotion, using that feeling ability to cause drama, to cause a fight, right? Whatever it may be. And so that's also ego. All of it is ego versus the light. When we are in our light, from the light, we check in with ourselves, right? From the light, we look at self, because in the end, that's the only reason why we've even incarnated. It's not about the other person. It's about self. It's about going deeper in self, because whenever we get triggered, whenever there's something going on, it is always to look at self first. And that's the first step of surrender. Surrender is incredibly layered. It's not just one way. It's not just one time. It's layer after layer after layer. It's step after step after step. To surrender the need to look externally, to surrender the need to blame the other person, to surrender the urge to want to get upset, to surrender the urge to want to blow shit up because I'm hurt, right? And this doesn't mean we don't feel. We still feel the emotions. We still feel the old wounding, which that is what it is because it's being triggered. So it's old wounding, right? And then once we have surrendered the need, the urge to drop into victim, to drop into drama, to drop into blame, by the way, all ego. Once we have surrendered that, now we have the ability to actually surrender into, okay, so if I'm not going to respond from my ego, which would be a reaction, then what is the response from my light like? How am I going to respond to this? How am I being my light instead? And that's a process in and of itself, and that requires surrender and trust, right? Because we want to always pay attention to self. And so another thing that works really, really, really well, and it's part of the process, of course, of reclaiming your light, of reclaiming your worth, is this: that you state to yourself what it is that you deserve. I deserve to be in a mutually respectful and loving relationship. Or I deserve to be in a safe relationship. I deserve to be in a trustworthy relationship, right? So wherever you're at, whatever you're working on, keep stating to yourself that that's what you deserve. And you're not only deserving to receive that, but you're also deserving to give that and feel that and be that, right? Because in order for you to receive that, you have to be that. And so let me just give you a quick little note to the side that obviously if you are in a relationship that is not honoring, that is not respectful, that is not open to communication and listening and expression and give and take, then it doesn't matter how much work you do. It simply means you got to get out, right? There is a time and a place to leave. You've just got to realize when that is. If you are with the wrong person, if you're with somebody who doesn't really reciprocate, if you're with a person who isn't open, who isn't, able yet to give to you what you want and desire and deserve, then of course you must walk away. Because in the end, you also then need to surrender that which doesn't work. In that case, maybe that relationship. And when you surrender that, just like the old ways, you will be open to receiving what you truly want, what you truly deserve. So when you say to yourself, I deserve to be in a mutually respectful relationship, then you need to, of course, look at yourself and check yourself and see where have I not been fully in that alignment? Am I being disrespectful sometimes? Am I still operating from old shutdown or tit for tat or reaction or blame game or being pouty game, right? So again, there are many ways in which we practice surrender. And it's a continuum. It's a continuous practice. It's a beautiful self-loving, which we always want to come from. We always want to be loving and supportive with the process, not to shame or blame self either, because it's just part of the healing process that we've come here to complete. Right? The conditioning that we've received as children is there for us to use and heal. So there's nothing to feel bad about. There's nothing to blame in self or in others. Right? And so the blame and the shame is one of the main things that we must surrender. Right? Just give it up. Keep giving it up. Keep giving it up. Because that's what the ego does. The ego wants to blame or shame either self or the other person. When in truth, there is no need to blame or shame. There's no need to judge, but simply take full responsibility for ourselves. We are creating our own reality. We are creating our own happiness and contentment and peace on the inside, which then allows for healthy relationships to occur while being independent, but in a healthy way, being self-possessed, maintaining one's own energy, one's own light alignment, while being with an empowered partner. And so then we can have healthy attachment, right? Because we want to be able to have connection and feel that vulnerability and be so open, because from this place of healthy attachment, of being vulnerable, of feeling authentically, we then really get to connect more deeply and even more deeply with the other person. And so I know this was a big mouthful, and surely we will come back to this subject, but remember that the ultimate goal for this goddess embodiment really is the releasing, the surrendering of the old identifications with, oh, that's just how I am, or that's just who I am. No, you're not. It's just conditioning. And to slowly but surely work your way inward into the surrender into your light, into the surrender to your empowerment, your authenticity, your truth, your clarity, your wisdom, your intuition. The more that you surrender into your light and the more that you check yourself, is this my light or is this my ego? Whenever it's really heightened, whenever it's anxious, whenever it's really strong, or fuck this, or I can't, pity party, whenever it's any of those, it's just ego, point blank. And so this is when we wait, we breathe and we feel, and we do not think into it, and we simply allow for the need to react to settle down. And the more we do that, the more we're surrendering the old ways, because we're not engaging them. We're not engaging into the old stories anymore. We're not believing the old voices anymore. We're not needing to be in the shutdown, fuck you mode any longer, because that's ego. And it's not the light. And it's not the light power. Because from within the light power, we see very clearly that nothing is personal, and that I know I deserve all this. So if this other person truly isn't able to give to me what I deserve, then it's okay to move on. But not from a shutdown, fuck you kind of a place, but instead from a place of, no, I deserve this and I want this. And it's okay that you don't have it. It's okay that you can't give it. And I bless you and I wish you all the best. And I'm going to go ahead and continue my life, right? It's a peaceful place. It's a compassionate place. It's an understanding place. It's a place of wisdom, which is the true power, which is the true authentic empowerment that the goddess lives from naturally, right? Naturally, because she knows she's not of this earth. She's just come here to play in it. She's just come here to complete her mission. She's just come here to be her light, radiant, flowing, strong, yet soft self. Okay? Okay. Well, thank you, my beautiful, beautiful sisters. Continue to ask yourself, is this my light or is this my ego? Is this my light or is this my ego? And then, of course, state to yourself what it is that you deserve. And really feel that, really align with that truth. Really make sure that you really align with that truth of what it is that you deserve, so that you embody that frequency, right? Manifestation 101. And then see what arises from within you that's not in alignment, that's contradictory, that's not of that same truth. And you'll recognize the voices or the thoughts or the stories or the reaction patterns that are not of that truth. And then you can identify them again and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's not my light, that's ego, okay. And then the more you know yourself, the more you are able to refrain from engaging it. Okay, good. I just needed to say that. I know we're over time. Thank you for your time, for your energy. Love and light blessings to you and yours. Ciao for now.